Hello everyone and welcome back to another Storytime video. And today I am going to talk about the worst roommate ever. Now, if you have lived with people that you aren't related to, more than likely you have lived with a roommate. A friend, a colleague, uh, somebody that, you know, you are associated with. Um, and back when this story occurred, I used to rent a room in a farmhouse. Kind of like in the movie Roadhouse, where Dalton rents from that farmer or that horseman. Yeah, my landlady had all kinds of horses as well, except that the difference between Dalton and my situation is that, of course, I lived with other people, not in the same room, but she had like 5 or 6 rooms upstairs above where she lived, but in the same house. So there were 2 kitchens in this house, 2 living rooms, basically 2 of everything. And um, so we all had a kitchen up there. So it's not like we needed to, bother the landlady, the owner of the house, the farmhouse. And so, yeah, it was kind of like in the movie Roadhouse, Dalton's arrangements, um, where he rented out a room from, I don't remember the guy's name. Um, but yeah, anyway, so uh, I had a good, I don't know, 10 or so roommates. Uh, Not at the same time, but throughout my time living in this farmhouse. And so today I'm going to talk about the worst, by far the worst one that I had to deal with. And yeah, let's get into it today. But yeah, um this roommate uh lived across the hall and one over. So one over and across. Nobody lived exactly across from me or had a room across from me because that was to the little living room where he had TV and all that stuff. So thankfully nobody lived right across from me. But she lived across from me and one over and one and across. So um, so she, especially in the beginning when she rented, she basically put all of her makeup stuff and all of that in the bathroom and basically took over the bathroom from day one and basically left her shoes everywhere and all that other stuff. And I'm not against people having makeup in a bathroom, especially if it's a shared bathroom. But just don't leave it all over the counter next to the sink like you don't share a bathroom with like 4 other people. Um, so that was one of the big things there. And then she she would often make noise in terms of like throughout the day. I think now I don't know if this is because I think she smoked. I'm not. Well, I know she smoked, but I don't think she exactly vaped. Oh, and there's another thing I almost forgot about. Yeah, she smoked cigarettes, which I don't have a problem with. People can do what they want, as well as everything that I'm going to point out in this video. I don't necessarily have a problem with all this stuff. It's just how she went about it. So, she would often leave her cigarette butts outside. Of course, first off, that's littering. Second off, my landlady liked to kind of let the horses roam around the yard because, this farmhouse was away from the road, and the horses knew not to go venture outside the property because there was nobody that really lived immediately on the left or the right. So the horses had plenty of room to go, and I guess you see where I'm getting with this. And that if a horse was curious about a cigarette butt, it might not be too good. So I don't have a problem necessarily with people smoking, but don't first off litter, but don't make it such that you could harm a horse or any other kind of animal in the process. That's not okay in my eyes. So those are a couple of things, and then so I think she might have smoked weed at some point. I don't know, but it seemed like for hours and hours she would run what seemed like a vacuum cleaner. Now, this is disputed by my landlady, or my former landlady, but so she doesn't think that my former roommate ran a vacuum cleaner in the room. Like, so she doesn't think that. So it's disputed. But regardless, it would be making a lot of noise in the afternoon and stuff. And yeah, I get that noise on its own is not that big of a deal, but when it's like vacuum level loud and it goes on for several hours at a time, yeah, that is a problem. I don't like that. And I don't have a problem with people smoking weed, but, of course, be respectful about everything is basically my message about what she does. She, in my opinion, didn't do it respectfully. Now, I've never done any of that, so who am I to say what's respectful or not, I guess. But, so there was that, and then, she, so it was mainly the noise and all that, and the cigarette butts, but, her room was always disorganized and messy and all that, too. Like, every once in a while she left the door open, so you could see in her room, and it was always messy. And in my opinion, whenever you're renting a room from somebody and it's messy, it's dirty, it's disorganized, there's stuff everywhere, it's just not good. And then there was at some point a couple times where she told me that she felt like she could make all the rules, and it's not like I was being confrontational, or at least didn't mean to be, but she felt like she could make all sorts of rules and do whatever she wanted. And she eventually got kicked out after a few months. I think it was 4 months. Yeah, it was 4 months. It was from a July through a November. So she was asked to leave that November 30th, and she was given a month. So she was told on Halloween, like, hey, you need to leave. Because typically the way that my landlady operated is that she loved to, if she was going to kick you out, which she was the only one that got kicked out while I was there, so usually people left on their own. She always loved for you to give a month's notice, and she told me that also when I was first started living there, is that she was like, hey, well, if the worst comes to worst, then, I would give you a month as well. So basically give each other a month. So she was given a month. So she knew a month and a month ahead that this was going to happen. And so it's not like my landlady woke up one day and said, okay, well, you got to have all your stuff out by the end of the day or by the end of the week or whatnot. No, it was a month in advance where she knew that this was going to happen, and she knew that she needed to have all her stuff out um, before she was going to get kicked out, even though by the end of the month she left all kinds of stuff, like all kinds of, like she left like 3 black trash bags full of clothes and stuff. And um and I believe the last straw came from where she couldn't really hold a job. Again, it's not necessarily a bad thing if you're always changing, or if you change a job a couple times a year, but she, I think, worked like 4 or 5 separate jobs in the span of, like, from July that year through like mid-October that year. She worked like 4 or 5 jobs. That's 3.5 months. That's 3.5 months. I get needing to change a job every once in a while, or maybe, you think you're going to like a job and you start it, and then turns out it's not a fit, or you actually don't like it, whether, some coworkers, whether you don't like some coworkers or whatnot. That's totally fine. But 4 or 5 jobs in a 3.5 month period, even 4 is a little much. Then it's like, on its own, it's like, okay. But then when you're trying to rent from somebody, you kind of need that stable income. And she realized, or my landlady realized that. And I think that might have been the final straw. I don't quite know. So I don't want to say for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me. And then, like, a month after she got kicked out, I left, actually. I left the farmhouse. Well, no, 2 months later. 2 months later. So at the end of that January, I left the farmhouse. Um, and I moved in with my partner, and thankfully I don't have to deal with roommates anymore, even though I had some pretty awesome roommates there at the farmhouse. So I don't want to say that they're all bad, it's just that this woman was definitely the worst one, and I don't dislike her as a person at all. I'm just glad that I don't have to live with her anymore. Like, if I saw her on the street or in the store or at the gas station, I would say hi to her and I'd be friendly with her. But there is no way that I would want to ever live with her again. So I don't dislike her. Well, I don't even dislike her as a human. I just don't want to live with her ever again. And thankfully, I don't have to ever again. But yeah, comment down below one or two stories about your worst roommates or possibly even best roommate that you've ever had. But yeah, that will do it for me today. And CS guys, I do believe that will excuse me. And CS guys, I do believe that will do it for this storytime video and Slank storytime video. I will see you all later. Goodbye, guys! Thank you all for watching.